Right now, my shoulder broke, but we still getting to the money. We still count paper. This ain't a pump and dump, baby.
Rick Ross just pulled off what's being called one of the slickest scams ever on Big Meech. And now word is, Meech has snapped back at him. The wild part? Everyone saw this betrayal coming, except for Big Meech himself. The internet is eating this up like it's the explosive finale of some messy reality show. And honestly, who can be shocked? After all, what did Meech really expect from a man who used to wear a badge? And you already know 50 Cent couldn't resist. He's been clowning the whole situation, dropping sharp subliminals about both Big Meech and Lil Meech on his socials. And he's loving every second of it. But here's where it gets twisted. Big Meech had just walked out of prison a few months ago, and instead of laying low, he was out cheesing in pictures with Rick Ross like Ross was his savior. That move hit different, especially knowing Ross has been one of 50's deadliest rivals for years. Instead of keeping it real with the man who actually held it down, Meech went straight into Rose's arms, acting like Ross had been the one putting in work for 2 decades. Can you imagine how deep that cut must have felt to 50? Seeing Meech smiling and cozy with Ross wasn't just disrespect. It was a dagger to his chest, even if he already knew betrayal was around the corner. Instead of showing loyalty, Big Meech went and linked up with Floyd Mayweather, a move that felt like straight disrespect to 50 Cent. Lil Meech was out here talking about real power, just to poke at 50, while Big Meech twisted the knife even deeper. Sure, 50 used Meech's story to build millions, but at least he built something legendary with it. Meanwhile, Ross, he was just out here playing chess with people's lives. Rick Ross worked it like the slick operator he is, chasing influence, soaking up all that spotlight, and feeding his own ego, fully knowing the whole mess was about to explode into major drama.
For Lil Meech, I don't feel bad for no grown man on this planet. Like, I'm a grown man. Why the fuck I gotta feel bad for another grown man? Like, you a grown man too, nigga. What you asking for my sympathy for, nigga? You be alright. Ho, nigga.
And when things started boiling over, what did Ross do? Instead of stepping up, he pulled a slick move, suddenly blaming everything on a shoulder injury to dodge questions and keep his fans guessing. But here's the real scandal. Ross had already conned his own supporters with that shady cryptocurrency scheme, Boss Token. The betrayal was so dirty, the internet rebranded him as Rug Ross. And then, just days after lying to Big Meech and getting exposed, he suddenly popped up with that broken shoulder excuse. The timing was too perfect, and people weren't buying it for a second. Yeah, it's safe to say Rick Ross hit the ground hard with this one, and that speaks volumes. Word is, he even low-key sold off most of his assets, keeping just a couple left, all so he could funnel that money into his real estate hustle. Meanwhile, Big Meech could have been staging a powerful comeback in the industry, but Ross straight up blocked his path. Instead of moving smart, Meech kept making questionable decisions. And now both he and Lil Meech are the butt of jokes online. Their so-called friendship with Rick Ross collapsed faster than anyone imagined, and the internet is tearing them apart for it. Actor Michael Rainey Jr. didn't hold back either. He flat out said he has zero sympathy for either of them, reminding folks that both are grown men who should have seen this coming. And you already know 50 Cent doubled down, fanning the flames from his corner of the internet. And here's the truth. Everyone knows how brutal 50's feuds get. Once he locks onto you, he'll burn the whole house down just to prove a point. Even DJ Vlad admitted that 50 is the last person you want smoke with because he will not stop until you're finished. But Ross, he's got his own history of betrayal. Big Meech isn't even the first person he's left stranded. Remember when Ross abandoned his own crew in Canada, letting them get jumped, only to come back later and claim it was all some twisted strength test? That's the kind of snake behavior that makes this whole mess even uglier. That's a downright devilish move. But let's be real, Rick Ross has been moving like this from day one. Whack 100 even called it early, saying Ross was the real villain in this whole messy saga with 50 and Big Meech. And looking back, Whack wasn't lying. Ross never had Meech's back for real. From the jump, Ross knew exactly what he was doing. He hyped Meech up with promises of money, big opportunities, and a fresh start. all while parading him around as his ally just to stir up tension with 50 Cent. But in the end, it was all smoke and mirrors. Whack 100 hit the nail on the head. If Ross truly wanted to help Meech, he would have kept things private, handled business quietly, and actually given him a solid way back into the game. Instead, Ross went loud with it, roasting 50 online, and talking like he had the rights to the BMF story when he knew he didn't. And the second it stopped benefiting him, silence. Notice how Ross doesn't even mention Big Meech anymore. Why? Because Ross only pushes whatever keeps his own pockets fat.
About the rapper Rick Ross having the same name?
Well, the fact that he stole my name, not that we had the same name, he actually stole my whole story, my identity, the whole thing. Mm-hmm. You know, he built his career off of my legacy.
And once Meech stopped being profitable, he stopped being useful. That's not loyalty, that's pure opportunism. Word on the street is Rick Ross was the real reason Big Meech's welcome home benefit party got shut down, but he made it look like it was 50 Cent's fault the whole time. That's the twisted part. Ross didn't want Meech making a strong comeback or shining on that stage. Instead, he wanted Meech tucked away in the shadows, while Ross played the smooth, public-facing, good guy role. Take that cryptic post 50 Cent made and later deleted. I had nothing to do with this. Please stop calling my phone. I sincerely hope you have a nice day today. Happy Valentine's Day. I'm stronger than you think I am. At first, people thought 50 was just trolling. But now, it all makes sense. That whole BMF anthem with Ross shouting, "I think I'm Big Meech," had Meech believing Ross was riding for him. Turns out, it was all just a performance. Think about it. What if Ross's real ambition was to become Big Meech, not just stand next to him? This is a man with a long track record of borrowing other people's identities to build his empire, especially the names of street legends and kingpins. It's not even up for debate. His entire rap persona was inspired by the real freeway Rick Ross, a notorious figure locked up at the time. And when the real Ross got out, he publicly blasted him and even tried to sue. So was Big Meech just another chapter in Ross's book of borrowed identities? Looking at the pattern, it's hard not to believe it. This all started way back in 2005, and by 2010, the real Rick Ross, the man who ran a massive operation in the 80s, came out swinging with a lawsuit against the rapper for trademark infringement and identity theft.
Career that you'd have any respect for? No, there's nothing there. I never wanted to work with.
But in 2013, the judge sided with the rapper after Ross claimed the whole thing was just a stage name he invented. That ruling gave him the green light to keep running with an identity that was never his. And this is his playbook. Ross cozies up to street legends, acts like he's got their back, and then flips the script the second it benefits him. The same move he pulled with Larry Hoover in 2021. Hoover, a name with real weight in the streets, was still locked down. Yet Ross kept name-dropping him in songs, stacking cash off his legacy without ever lifting a finger to actually help. That's straight exploitation. And fans weren't quiet about it. Ross was dragged online for milking Hoover's name, while giving nothing in return. And that's exactly why people say you can never fully trust Ross. He might smile in your face today and flip on you tomorrow. 50 Cent called this years ago, saying he never respected Ross as a man. And now, you can bet 50's enjoying every second of this chaos. He doesn't even have to lift a finger. Ross is burning his own house down while 50's out here stacking money, signing deals, and adding more paperwork to his empire. Big Meech and Lil Meech are now scrambling, reportedly begging for some kind of lifeline while bouncing from one celebrity circle to another just to stay visible. Meanwhile, Rick Ross thought he had the upper hand, clowning 50 Cent by calling him broke and mocking him for supposedly not being able to secure the loan he needed to launch his own film company. Ross really thought he had a win with that jab. But here's the twist. Just days later, that loan came through and 50 walked away with the bag. Now Ross has to watch in real time as 50 continues to prove why he's the one man in the industry nobody wants to cross. And fans are dragging Ross even harder because just weeks ago, He was bragging online about buying 50's masters. Looking back now, that flex sounds ridiculous, and people are convinced Ross must be fuming behind the scenes. As for Big Meech and Lil Meech, it's way too late for 50 to swoop in and save them. That bridge has already burned. But the situation still drops some heavy lessons. Even influencers like Zip with the Drip, who always said 50 was being real about Meech, are speaking up again, reminding everyone that loyalty can't be faked. And right now, the streets are starting to see who really kept it solid and who was just playing roles. He warned that things would get messy, and eventually Rick Ross would drop Big Meech. And look where we're at now. The prophecy came true, and the internet is buzzing non-stop. A lot of fans are convinced Meech is finished in the industry, saying his one real shot at a comeback has already gone up in smoke. But here's the twist. Others are calling it the exact opposite. One user summed it up perfectly, writing, "Let me get this straight. A former corrections officer flip-flopping on a man who actually did time, and then a two-faced dude getting played by another two-faced dude? There's a word for that. Karma." And honestly, that take has been echoing everywhere. People are saying this isn't just karma. It's karma piping hot, straight out the oven. The timing was brutal, and the downfall feels instant. The whole situation has turned into one of the wildest cautionary tales in hip-hop. So now I gotta ask you, do you think Big Meech's story is over, or is this just the beginning of another messy chapter? Now let's not forget, this entire situation also shines a spotlight back on 50 Cent's legendary pettiness. Whenever his enemies stumble, he doesn't just sit back quietly. He puts the whole meltdown on display. And right now, with Rick Ross and Big Meech tangled up in betrayal, 50 has the perfect stage to remind everyone why his name still rings heavy in the industry.
I'll buy your masters. You better. I will buy your masters.
Fans have been quick to point out how Ross's empire was built on shaky ground, with too many borrowed names and shady business moves holding it up. So when that foundation cracks, it's no surprise people are calling this downfall long overdue. And the fact that it all unraveled while 50 is expanding his empire into film, TV, and global business ventures? That's poetic justice. Some even say 50 doesn't have to drop a single diss track anymore. His success alone is the clapback. Every new deal he signs, every show he produces, every headline he dominates, it's another reminder that he's untouchable, while his rivals end up choking on their own mess. And here's the wildest part. Big Meech was supposed to come home to a hero's welcome, with people lining up to see him reclaim his spot in the game. Instead, he walked straight into a storm of betrayal, shady alliances, and public embarrassment. What should have been his grand return turned into a cautionary tale about trust, loyalty, and choosing the wrong allies. Rick Ross played the role of a friend, but in the end, he used Meech's name for clout, then tossed him aside the second it no longer served him. That's why the streets are clowning Meech right now, because the writing was always on the wall. Ross's track record showed he would flip, but Meech ignored the signs, and now it's too late to undo the damage. Meanwhile, 50 Cent didn't even have to lift a finger. The same man Meech distanced himself from ended up being the one person who could have kept his image solid. Instead, 50 gets to watch from the sidelines while history proves him right yet again. At this point, Big Meech and Lil Meech are looking like pawns in someone else's chess game. Instead of rebuilding their empire, they've been caught up in Rick Ross's drama, and the fallout is brutal. The same man they thought was lifting them up ended up exposing how shaky their foundation really was. And the industry doesn't forgive mistakes like this. People in the streets are saying Meech traded real loyalty for fake love, and now he's paying the price. It's not just about one party being canceled or one photo going viral. It's about the bigger picture. The comeback story he could have had is now overshadowed by betrayal, memes, and endless debates online. Meanwhile, 50 Cent sits back like the king on the board, untouched and unbothered. Every time someone crosses him, the universe seems to hand him another victory without him even needing to swing. And with fans, blogs, and even industry insiders clowning Ross and Meech at the same time, the balance of power feels like it's shifting once again, right back into 50's favor. What's really crazy is how this whole situation flipped the narrative. Big Meech was supposed to be celebrated, but instead, he's now being dragged into conversations about betrayal, clout chasing, and bad judgment. The legend of his name still carries weight, but right now it's being drowned out by Rick Ross's slick moves and 50 Cent's relentless shade. Ross wanted the spotlight, but all he managed to do was prove to everyone that his loyalty comes with an expiration date. And Meech? He put trust in the wrong people, which is why his return feels more like a cautionary tale than a triumph. This is the type of story that shows how fast reputations can crumble when loyalty and respect aren't handled right. And then there's 50, calm, calculating, and always ready with a smirk when his enemies trip over themselves. While Meech and Ross scramble, he's stacking more wins, more business moves, and more influence. To a lot of fans, it feels like karma handed him the biggest victory without him even stepping in the ring. So here's the big question. Do you think Big Meech is secretly plotting his revenge on Rick Ross? Or is this the end of the road for their alliance? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know what side you're on. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another wild update. Share this with your people too, because this story is far from over. See you on the next one. See.